Hey crafty friends, welcome to card number 2 in our series 12 Cards of Christmas 2015. And today I'm creating a card that has 4 tiles on it. Now I have here a regular 8.5 by 6 card, but I want this card to be square. So what I'm going to do is measure how much the width is, which is 6 inches. And in order for me to turn it into a square, I need my length to be 6 inches as well. So I've measured that, and I've simply cut off the 2.5 excess 2.5 inches that I didn't need. Now from a white cardstock, I am cutting 4 squares, measuring 1 inch and 1/15 of a 1/16 inch. That's almost 2 inches minus 1/16 of an inch. So I have 4 of those, and I would need another 4 squares from pattern paper, different pattern paper. I'm using scraps. That's a really good way to use them in a card, or you know, cut squares or cut shapes of whatever scraps of paper that you have. So I have here a piece of paper that I'm just going to cut to size, and those squares on top of the white squares are going to measure 1 inch and 13/16 of an inch. So that's almost 2 inches minus 3/16 of an inch. Hope that makes sense. Now of course the sizes of the squares depends on the size of your card. If you're going to use a larger card, then you would need larger squares. In order for you to calculate how small or big they should be, I recommend to leave a margin of about 1/4 of an inch on the card and 1/4 of an inch in between the squares. So this way you can subtract the 1/4 of inches that you need and then figure out how big the squares should be. Hope that makes sense. So I have inked the edges of my pattern paper, and I'm going to attach it to one of my white squares. Doesn't really matter which one because they're all the same size. So this is one. And the fun thing about tiles is that you can really create a whole, it's like a card within a card, because that little tile can be filled with patterns and embellishments and stickers and quotes and whatever, and it can almost be a card in itself, and that it goes on top of the card. So I really love that tile cards that I'm creating 4 now, but you can do it with 9 or 6 or how many numbers that you want. So I have here a red corrugated cardstock that I'm cutting to size as well, the same 1 inch and 13/16 of an inch. This is quite difficult cutting with the trimmer, so I'm using a ruler and a craft knife because it's too thick for that little cutter that I have, which by the way I love it, it's very comfortable. So now my red square here is done. Again, gonna go on the white square, and of course you can change the colors, you can play around. They don't have to be white squares, they can be green or red, and then on top of them other colors, and you can adjust it the way that you like with the colors that you prefer. So that's square number 2. Now for square number 3, I'm going to use a pattern paper and just gonna cut it to size and add it on top of the white one. So this little cutter is really, it's by Fiskars and I love it. I have another one in a box in case this one fails and the knife will get dull. So I have a brand new one waiting for me. But this one is actually, I have it for I think about 5 years and it still cuts perfectly. So really good product. Anyway, square number 3 is ready. And for square number 4, I'm going to use a pattern paper that has a pattern that I want it centered in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting the square in a size that is larger than the piece that I need on purpose, because first of all I want to center that red flower in the middle, and then I'm going to trim the sides according to the size I need after this is in the center. So now I'm trimming very small excess on the sides until I reach the size that I need. And this is a really great way to center a pattern without starting to measure it. You could measure it, but that would take longer, so I'm just eyeballing it. And that's enough for me. Maybe if you measure it, you'll see that there's a 1/16 of an inch on each side, or it's not exactly in the middle, but it's middle enough for me. So that will be our final square, and now we can start embellishing them. Now I'm going to keep it really simple. You can add as many embellishments that you want and create a much more complicated card, but I just want to show you the technique and the inspiration behind the idea of the tiles, and you can take it to as far as you want. So I have here a punched snowflake. It's gonna go on the red square. Very simple. And remember, if you need to make lots of cards, then you don't want each card to take too long. So this is a nice festive card that is relatively fast to make. Only takes about 10 minutes or so. And you can cut all the squares in advance and then go ahead and embellish them and create 10-15 cards, maybe in 2 hours, and be done with it. So I'm eyeballing the distances between the squares, but you can again measure, and actually I see that it's less than 1/4 of an inch gap between each one. It looks more like 1/8 of an inch, or even maybe 1/16 of an inch, but whatever you do, just measure or eyeball it and it'll be fine. Now what I'm going to add are a few more details on my squares. First I want to add a small tree, so I'm using again scrap of paper to cut out my tree. These small embellishments are a really good way to use any scraps that you have, because you can cut them into the pieces that you need, unless of course you want to use stickers or cutouts or stuff that you have already in your stash. I'm looking for a small piece to create the bottom part of the tree, the trunk. Inking the edges always adds something extra, makes it pop a little bit more, gives it more dimension. You know that by now. And the top part of the tree I'm going to attach with a foam tape. And then for the top square, I'm going to punch out 2 white circles for a little snowman. I'm going to use, I think, gonna add those before the snowman. So I'm just writing joy, very small stickers. Where's the Y? Don't know why the stickers are always so difficult to get out, take out of they're sticky, I know, but still it drives me nuts sometimes. So I have here 2 punches. I'm going to use 1 inch, I think, and 3/4 of an inch. So one will be slightly bigger than the other, and they're going to be attached with some foam tape, and they're going to be a little snowman, which, by the way, you can use fabric or felt or whatever you want for your snowman. I'm just using paper in this case, and I'm just going to take a little piece of red cardstock for its scarf, just cutting it out. Just cutting a little triangle the bottom, so I'll get those edges of the scarf, and I'm gonna go in there, a little bit of glue under its head, and I'm gonna use a black pen to draw the buttons and its face. Very simple, not too complicated, and you get a really nice festive Christmas card. Again, and fast. So thank you very much for joining me for card number 2, and please tune in tomorrow to watch card number 3 in our series 12 Cards of Christmas 2015. Please check out my website and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you all tomorrow.